Whatever is convenient for you folks.
Yeah, I usually give a small intro and start, and then if you guys are here before I finish, I let you guys talk, and then you guys can leave because usually I have to go to another meeting.
I do not.
Okay. Then maybe I'll finish the whole thing, and before I get into the whole reading of the articles and everything, I'll let you guys speak if there's anybody else here.
Any of the senators here?
No, and usually they contact me to ask about speaking, and they didn't. So
Okay.
I was a little surprised, but then I thought, just it's a weird year. Maybe they didn't have a chance. So
You're a little bit early too. I mean, they may not have researched.
Yeah, and sometimes they wait till they show up and they come up and they talk to me and they ask, I'm here, can I speak? And I usually just kind of start the meeting and do the pledge and then let them go. But we're not going to do the pledge. We can't. And, so I'll just start the meeting, maybe get through everything. And I'll say before I get to reading the articles and the warning, I'll let you talk. And if anybody else is here, I'll see if they want to talk.
Thank you. No big controversy.
Good evening.
See a lot of interesting things on Zoom.
It's weird seeing into people's houses. They're pacing
Animals going by, kids screaming.
That's why I moved over to the office from my house.
All my kids are grown and moved out, so I don't have to worry about that. The only one who would bother me is the dog, and I took him out right before the meeting so he would go upstairs and go to sleep. So
it's funny, the New Hampshire house, somebody's cat got it on the Zoom, and they got all upset and said, "No animals, we can't have that." I went, "Oh, for crying out loud, get a life."
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, are you going to read the
I have to conduct this like a town meeting. The informational meeting's the same way. Just like we used to have the informational meeting for the school before we separated before they became part of the union. So I have to read my little speech. I've adjusted it because there are things we're not going to do and things we're going to do that are different. And then I'll read the warning.
Oh, the warning. Yeah. Okay.
I'll do it one step at a time. And then if anybody has any questions as we move along, I'll let them ask questions.
When's the school meeting?
Thursday night. In fact, both the high school, not the high school, sorry, the Green Mountain Union School District is Thursday night. And then the tech center is Thursday night too. So they're right on top of each other. One's at 6 and one's at 7.
And your school budget goes through Green Mountain?
Yes.
Okay.
Green Mountain's a unified school district now. So
Right.
it includes Chester, Andover, Baltimore, Cavendish, Proctorsville, and yeah. So they're all together. So the elementary schools and our budget's all put together. And right now that budget's only up less than 1%. It's like 0.94%.
Ours is up 10%. Not good.
We had a big jump last year, so the towns were gracious enough to give us the money, and so.
You're the moderator for the school also?
I'm the principal at the high school.
Oh, okay. You having in person at the school at all, or just strictly Zoom?
All in person, except for Wednesdays are a remote day for the kids. Gives everybody a break in the middle of the week. So,
it won't be online at all?
Just on Wednesdays. And we did have certain times, like Thanksgiving and Christmas, because a lot of people went away. We wanted to make sure everybody was safe. And then the week after.
I'm sorry, I'm talking about the meeting.
Oh,
Sorry.
that meeting, the informational meeting's online. And then we're gonna have our annual meeting in May, and they're hoping to do that live, so they're postponing it.
Good idea.
Okay, 6:30.
I was gonna say it's 6:32 according to my computer, so figure we get started okay. So good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the 2021 Cavendish Town Informational Meeting to order. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Mike Ripley. I'm your moderator for tonight. Tonight's going to be a little different from how we normally do our meetings. So tonight we're here for information only. Since we are voting on all our articles by Australian ballot tonight, we're going to discuss the articles. Anybody can ask any questions they have, but we can't make any motions, amendments, or take any action on them until we voted on next week in the voting booth. Some basics about how things will go tonight. Tonight we're here in a civil assembly as a community in a tradition that's older than the state itself. While we're not making decisions tonight, people will be voicing their opinions and on these matters, and we need to remember that we're neighbors and we may disagree with certain people, but everybody's a good person and just has an opinion that might be slightly different than yours. We need to remember that. Let us remember that in the end, caring for each other is far greater of importance than any differences that we may have. As your moderator, I'm here to help you accomplish the business that we intend to accomplish. I'm here to facilitate the discussion. Please remember to speak to me after you've been recognized. So if you have any questions, you need to raise your hand. If you're here on a phone, it's my understanding you have to press, what was it, #9 to raise your hand?
*9.
*9. And for everybody else, your hand is in the participant window. So if you go down the bottom and click participants, and everybody's name will pop up on the right-hand side of your screen and you can raise your hand over there. If I miss it or you can't find it, just yell out when I ask if there's anybody who wants to speak, and we'll eventually get to you. If you have a question for somebody else other than one of the board members, remember to ask it through me. Don't ask them directly. And if anybody's here for the first time, I'd like to welcome you. And I want to continue something that we started at the last meeting and have a moment of silence for those people in the town who left us this year. Okay, thank you. One of our representatives is here, John Aronson, and I'd like to let him speak and say anything he needs to. That's what we usually do at the beginning of the meetings with the representatives. So, John, if you want to talk and let us know how things are going up at the State House or whatever, please.
Actually, it's how things are going in my living room. I think I'm going to wear out my recliner before this is over. First off, I'd like to thank everybody that voted for me, and those that didn't. I hope that I can serve everyone equally. My emphasis this session has been, I was assigned to the Education Committee. And so most of my focus has been on the bills that are coming regards to education. One thing that I'm sure Principal Ripley is keenly aware of is the act that was passed last year that has become law, that is going to change the way the funding structure is. I got to be honest with you, and I think Principal Ripley would probably agree with me that the funding formula it is so complicated that you're lucky if anybody understands it. But I think I got a reasonable handle on it. But what's changing that's going to affect school funding, and actually it's a redistribution of existing funds. The Supreme Court Brigham decision said that we weren't adhering to our state constitution and giving all students equal education. And the consequences of that was Act 46, the Unified Districts, the reorganization of schools. And At that time, students were given what's called a weighting factor, with high school kids getting a little heavier weight. This has nothing to do with your physical body weight. And special ed kids had a different weight, reflecting the fact that it costs more to educate some kids than others. Kindergartners are less because they're generally part-time in the schools. Anyway, the numbers that were assigned at that time were arbitrary. And a study was done, and there's new weighting factors coming out that's going to affect probably every district differently. Some are going to be, they don't like to use the word winners and losers, but some are going to get more money, some are going to get less. So it's going to affect your budget coming down the line, not this year though. The usual, we're up to, I think, 315 bills have been introduced. Most of those bills won't even see the light of day, simply because of the time restraint. The deadline for introducing bills is upon us already. And the crossover when the House bills have to go to the Senate is right after we get off of break next week. And then the bills go back and forth, and a few bills will make it to the governor's desk. There's no big controversial bills that I have seen coming out of the legislature this year. The focus has been COVID and COVID recovery. One thing I'm sure that your town manager and the school officials have seen is that just enormous amounts of money are coming in from the federal government. There's $127 million going directly to the schools. It isn't going to pass through Montpelier. And how that gets used, there'll be some restrictions on it, but you can't use it to reduce your budgets. Its focus is to get the kids back up to speed. I'm sure Principal Ripley would probably agree that some kids have actually done quite well with virtual learning, and some have completely fallen off the radar. And we have to capture those kids. Another focus that we've had in the Education Committee is literacy. And the focus in a bill is to make sure that kids are literate in reading by 4th grade. And the reason that is so critically important is that if they can't read well by 4th grade, they're probably headed for special ed. Special ed is incredibly expensive. And so it's an effort to drive down the special ed cost. Other than that, my contact information is on page 56 of your town report. My home phone number's on that, and my legislative email's on that. And I'll let you folks get back to your business at hand. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I'll read the warning, and once we get to the articles, I'll stop at each article and we can discuss them or answer anybody's questions that they have. So the warning reads: the town meeting warning for March 2nd of 2021. The legal voters of the town of Cavendish and the county of Windsor are hereby notified and warned to meet at the Proctorsville Fire Department at 10 o'clock in the forenoon on Tuesday, the 2nd day of March 2021, to transact the following business. By Australian ballot, with the polls being open from 10 to 7. Article 1, to elect town officers for the ensuing year. The example of the ballot is in the back of your book. And you'll see we have a number of races that don't have anybody running. So if anybody knows anybody that would like to volunteer for any of those positions, I'm sure the school board will be looking for people to represent Cavendish there, because it's my understanding, if I remember correctly, there are 2 spots open. Is any questions about Article 1, or Diane, do you want to add anything that I'm leaving out about voting?
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. No, we'll be at the fire station in Proctorsville from 10 to 7. Absentee ballots are available. At this point, the mail has been so slow, I might suggest you either pick it up or have it mailed to you and then return it to the office or have someone return it for you. But you can still call or stop in and get an absentee ballot or vote early. You can vote right at the town office. I think that's it.
Okay. Are we doing curbside stuff for people?
If someone needs curbside, they just need to let someone at the door know, and we can do that.
Okay.
Yep. You can also register to vote the same day as the poll. So if you're not registered and you want to vote, just come to the fire station and you can register then.
Excellent. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Not seeing or hearing anybody. I'll move on to Article 2. It's always my favorite article. To see if the town will vote to collect all taxes on real and personal property for which it has a statutory taxing authority in installments. Taxes collected by the town are to be paid to the treasurer on August 15th, November 15th, February 15th, and May 15th, with interest of 1% per month added for any tax principal balances due and not paid by the quarterly due date. The final due date for all tax principal balances is the 15th day of June, after which they'll become delinquent and they are subject to an 8% penalty in addition to the interest. If a payment due date falls upon a day at which the treasurer's office is officially closed, payments then due will be accepted without penalty or interest added if received by 4:30 p.m. the next business day. Amounts allocated to current year taxes under the state's Vermont Homestead Property Tax Income Sensitivity Program shall be applied to the taxpayer's property tax installments pro rata. Total adjustment divided equally between all quarterly installments. In accordance with 32 VSA 666 AF1. And again, this will be by Australian ballot. Does anybody have any questions about tax collections this year? And I'm thankful that I don't have to keep reading that over and over again and we have to vote on it. All right, then I will move on to Article 3. Article 3 reads, will the voters adopt the fiscal year 2021-2022 town budget as proposed by the Board of Selectmen in the amount of $1,651,947. Again, by Australian ballot. So if there are questions about the budget they want to ask the select board? Nothing? Okay. I'll move on to Article 4. This will be a quick meeting. Shall the voters of the town of Cavendish rescind the Australian ballot method of adopting or voting to adopt or amend the town plan and thereby authorizing the select board to adopt or amend the town plan by a majority vote of the select board, which is pursuant to 24 VSA 4385. So what we're asking is that we won't be putting it in front of the town for everybody to vote, that the select board will decide when we adopt the changes in the plan or the plan itself. Anybody have any questions about that? Or does anybody in the select board have any comments they want to make?
Hello,
Hi, Tracy.
I have a question. How
Certainly.
often do you get comments from the town? On
Do I get-
the plan, when you put it forth, like, do you ever end up with a lot of comments about it or much robust discussion? Or is it pretty much, you know, the folks who are closest to it figuring it out?
There's been a couple of times where we've had lively discussions about the town plan, and it's come up, but the town plan in Cavendish, and correct me guys if I'm wrong, it's not a binding thing. It's not, it's a plan of where we want to go, but it's not like it's a law.
Right.
So it has come up a couple of times. Brendan?
And I guess, Tracy, you know, to answer your question a little bit too, is to reiterate what Mike said, is that I guess it depends on what the change is to the to the town plan. The most recent adoption was the adoption of the town plan as a whole. And there was some discussion and comments, and we held multiple hearings about that. So then I guess really depending on what the additions are and changes and modifications to it would depend on how much conversation we have, but there would be multiple hearings and meetings before it went before the select board as well. So giving opportune time for people to digest and comment as needed. So I guess
Right.
it again comes back on, it could be something minor, could be something major.
Yeah, I guess, and Diane knows this, we moved to Tana last year or so from out of state, so we're very happy to be here. You know, my inclination is to say, let the people who know the issues best make those kinds of decisions, but I think it's good to hear that there's also opportunities for people to sort of weigh in and what do they think about this or that. But, you know, I'm not raising the issue in question of the expert sort of perspective on it, but rather to say, you know, do you have those channels where if people have a point of view that they've got that option? So it sounds like they do.
Yeah, very much so. We have a committee that works on the plan really, and the select board almost really never gets involved until the very end.
Yeah.
And they do a great job, and then they come and explain it to us. So there's all the times that they're working on it, that those meetings, and then the meetings that we have, it gets sussed out.
Good.
And those are the 4 articles. We can go back. Anybody joined us later coming in? Anybody want have any questions about any of the articles we have on the warning this year? One about voting, the one about collecting of taxes, the town budget, or the town plan? Brendan?
Mike, and I would just like to reiterate, because I know this will be posted on Okemo Valley TV and on YouTube as well. And for those who may not be able to join us right now over the next week, if you do watch this, you have your town plan in hand, please do call the office, speak to myself or anyone in the office regarding any questions that you may have, and that, you know, things that you may not have thought of now or may not have got a chance to join the meeting. We'd be more than happy to answer any questions and discussion that you may have before voting on Tuesday. I know this is a bizarre situation.
I have a question that people might be asking later on is, the town budget, the $1,651,947, is that an increase or a decrease from last year, and how much?
That is an increase of $75,127. So about 4.76% of an increase. We did our best, and I thank the select board, you know, for the work they did. And we did our best to keep in mind the COVID situation and keeping our costs as down as we could. So I think we did actually a very good job of keeping everything in mind. So again, thank you for the board, and I hope everybody realizes that we did our best to keep that in mind, you know, the current pandemic situation.
And to everybody in the office and all the guys and ladies that work for the town, doing the best they can with, you know,
Current
thinking
situation.
outside the box and coming up with solutions for things. If nobody has any questions about it in the articles, it's my understanding there's at least one person, if not 2 or 3, that may want to talk about other things. And usually at the end, we open it up to people who have announcements they'd like to make while we're here in front of, well, everybody from the town, which is 25 people tonight or so. But does anybody have anything they'd like to bring up and share for the good of the order? Julie, you don't have something you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, that would be nice. Thank you, Mike. I'm
Okay.
trying to get my notes here. Hi, everyone. And thanks for giving me a few minutes to provide an update. I'm part of the Cavendish Streetscapes Committee, and we wanted to give you some brief notes on what we've been doing this past year. For those of you who might not know, Streetscapes is an all-volunteer group in town that works on projects to beautify, and we're privately funded by grants and donations only. So first we have some thank yous. We'd like to thank the Proctorsville and Cavendish Fire Departments for their ongoing assistance with the flags. We'd also like to thank the Cavendish Fletcher Community Library for being the designated drop-off location for any downed flags. Thanks to Brendan and Diane and the town office team and our road crew team for their support and help for all of our projects. And above all, the many generous friends whose donations make all of our work possible. This year, we unfortunately had substantial flag loss, mostly due to damage caused by large trucks going by. We've taken inventory and are reevaluating flag locations, and will order replacement flags and mounting brackets. The work of Streetscapes Committee can be seen throughout the seasons at the elementary school gardens and Civic Memorial Park in Proctorsville, where benches were installed, the gardens were planted and tended, and the trees and gazebo were decorated for the holidays. In Cavendish, the Bont Swing was installed at the park, and the post office window boxes were planted through the seasons. We've created a Streetscapes banner that you might see that we display when we're out working around town, so be on the lookout. Streetscapes provided all of the photos for the annual Cavendish calendar this year, and also gave away a beautiful flower planter at one of the concerts on the green. You've probably noticed the large piles of fill at the former town garage location. This is the first step that we've taken to rejuvenate and repurpose the site. For this project, a working partnership was formed between the town of Cavendish, Cavendish Community Fund, and Cavendish Streetscapes, which is a committee under the umbrella of the CCCA. This group commissioned Tim Calabrese to provide a comprehensive landscaping plan for the site and the adjoining area around the Cavendish Historical Society Museum. Tim generously donated some of his time to reduce the cost, and we appreciate that. The plan will be on display in the town office for viewing when the office returns to normal, and work on the site will resume when conditions allow. So coming up, we'll be hosting a fundraising event this summer called Birds and Blooms on Saturday, June 26th at Civic Memorial Park in Proctorsville. Members of our community have volunteered to build and decorate birdhouses and feeders, which will be for sale, along with other garden-related items. If you'd like to join us in building or decorating the birdhouses and feeders, please email us as soon as possible. We have a batch of birdhouses ready to decorate and would love to have as many community members participate as possible. So please consider joining in the fun. If you'd like to join our mission of beautifying our shared spaces and instilling pride in our community, there is definitely a place for you in Streetscapes. We encourage you to reach out to us through email or Facebook and let us know how you'd like to be involved. We also gratefully accept any donations mailed to Cavendish Streetscapes at our mailing address. So because we're on Zoom, I will post in the chat our email address and our mailing address so you can find them easily and jot them down. If you have any questions, just email us and Martha Mott will be happy to respond. We hope the beauty of our town brings you some happiness. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Debbie. Does anybody else have any comments or go to the order stuff they'd like to share with everybody that's here? It's unfortunate because usually your Zoom meetings, you get more people than you normally get at a meeting. That's how we work it on the school board and stuff like that. But we usually have a lot more people at town meeting. Peter, you got something?
Yeah, Mike, we've had a lot of snow this year. And I just want to thank our town highway crew for a terrific job, as always, they do for our town. I'd say let's have a round of applause, but had it kind of fall flat. So just leave it at that.
We do have our reactions. We can put a clapping hands up. But you're right. They've done a great job this year. We had at one point almost 4 feet of snow, and it all disappeared in a couple of weeks. But at that moment, it was like, oh my God, there's 4 feet of snow. And they got rid of it all. So very much so. Does anybody else have anything? Julia, there's a crazy looking guy sitting behind you. Oh, hi, Paul.
Yeah, we're very pleased to have him here.
Yeah.
Thanks for all the support.
Well, this has to be some kind of record for a town meeting. Less than a half hour, especially because John spoke for a while and then Julie spoke at the end. It's really less than 20, 25 minutes. If nobody else has anything, then I'm good for the night, and I guess we can adjourn the meeting. But if anybody has anything they want to say or add to it, please, before we adjourn or shut off, let's hear your voice.
Michael, when you go off live, could we talk for just a second?
Certainly. If there's nothing else, then I will adjourn the meeting.
Okay, I will stop the live stream and